You're about to see a completely normal, logically sound exam answer that will literally cost you an entire grade boundary. Right there in the Cambridge AS and A-Level Information Technology 9626 syllabus, there is a sneaky 5-mark trap that catches thousands of students off guard before they even realize they've messed up. Stick with me because we're going to fix this right now so you don't drop those crucial marks. Let's get right into it. Okay, take a look at this standard exam prompt straight from the source material. It reads, apart from making phone calls and text messaging, give 5 uses of the smartphone. For each use, give an example to illustrate your answer. 5 marks. Now, what's really wild about this prompt is just how deceptively simple it looks, right? I mean, we all know what a smartphone does. But this specific question, it is an absolute trap. See, it's not testing whether you know what a phone is. It's actually testing whether you know exactly how to extract marks from the examiner. So picture this. A student sits down, the clock is ticking, they're under immense time pressure, and they write out the seemingly perfectly logical answer. Accessing the internet, playing computer games, using Facebook or Twitter, playing music, and watching videos. Pretty standard, right? Well, I want you to just pause for a second and predict. Look closely at these 5 bullet points. Out of 5 possible marks, how many do you honestly think this student just secured? The answer could literally be a big, fat 0. Seriously, 0 marks. Total wipeout. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth is that even possible? Every single thing on that list is something a smartphone actually does. But guys, here is where the harsh reality of Cambridge IT hits like a ton of bricks. This answer suffers from a fatal formatting mistake. The student completely ignored the structure that the specific command word actively demands. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the massive disconnect between just knowing the syllabus and actually having a solid exam strategy. As we can see in the syllabus context for mobile computers, sure, you're required to know that a smartphone is small, it's portable, it connects to Wi-Fi and cellular networks, and it handles multimedia. That's all great, but simply knowing the technical definition of a smartphone does not mean you know how to satisfy the examiner's hyper-specific mark scheme. The real secret is revealed right here in the official teacher's comments. Look closely at this quote from our source material. The examiner notes, the student was unable to distinguish between the use of a smartphone and examples to illustrate the use. Consequently, they could potentially lose all 5 marks. Ouch. Ordinary rote memorization revision totally fails if you ignore the exact structure the command word demands. This student just listed basic examples. They never explicitly stated the overarching use to tie it all together. And believe it or not, it actually gets worse. Let's look at another fatal flaw hidden in that initial student answer. Remember how the student wrote using Facebook or Twitter? Well, the golden rule of Cambridge IT is this: do not use trade names. Period. Even if an examiner was feeling generous and trying to piece together a pity mark by joining accessing the internet with Facebook, throwing in a trade name puts even that mark at serious risk. You absolutely must stick strictly to generic technical terms, like social media platforms. Okay, let's fix this right now. In a moment, I'm going to show you the exact examiner clue that changes your mark band completely. But first, you really need the framework that makes that clue super obvious. Here are your steps to mastering this specific type of question. Step 1, state the typical use clearly. Step 2, match it directly with a specific brief example. That right there is your non-negotiable formula. It's like a 2-piece puzzle. So let's look at how we actually translate the command word give in this context. When examiners ask you to give a use and an example, our source tells us it is perfectly acceptable to write a single sentence to highlight a typical use, followed immediately by a brief example that perfectly matches it. You see, the overarching use and the specific example are physically tied together for that single mark. If you separate them, or if you just list one of them, you get nothing. Nada. Let's see how this actually builds in practice. On one side, we have the flawed, low-level answer: playing music or watching videos. Now, compare that to the top band full mark answer in the field of entertainment, for example, when streaming videos or music. Do you see the massive structural difference there? Entertainment is explicitly identified as the defined use. Then, streaming videos acts as the specific example proving that use. Boom, that locks in the mark. This brilliantly illustrates another direct comparison from our source material. The flawed answer just vaguely says accessing the internet. Kind of lazy, right? But look at the top band answer. Internet services, for example, using QR codes at an airport or bus station for automatic website connections. Here, you are proving to the examiner that you truly understand the hyper-specific context of how that internet service is applied in the real world, rather than just blurting out a generic feature. Let's escalate this with one more comparison. The crucial point here is upgrading those generic actions into actual real-world scenarios. So instead of just jotting down taking photos, the top band student writes, as a camera. For example, taking on the spur-of-the-moment photos at an accident since your phone is always with you. See what they did? You defined the hardware use, as a camera, and then you anchor it perfectly to an illustrative example. It's brilliant. Now, to secure all 5 marks across the board, you need 5 distinct categories. Here are the 5 overarching uses that the high-scoring students successfully identified before they even applied their examples: entertainment, camera, internet services, telephone banking, and remote control of devices. By establishing these broad uses first, they basically guarantee they won't accidentally overlap their points and lose marks for just repeating the exact same core idea twice. Okay, I think you're ready. Let's put you to the test with a quick challenge. Spot the error here. Why does writing remote control of devices, for example, an oven controlled by an app via the internet, score a full mark, but simply writing using an oven app completely fails? Seriously, take a moment to think about the strict framework we literally just covered. What's missing? Well, if you realize it fails because it's completely missing the overarching use, you absolutely nailed it. As this official exam tip from our source highlights, remember your example must match with the use or it won't gain any marks. It is very easy to lose the mark if either your use or the chosen example are too vague. Writing using an oven app is just a vague example floating in space without an anchor. You literally have to explicitly state remote control of devices to build that necessary bridge for the examiner. So, you've just totally mastered the command word give by perfectly linking a broad use to a specific example. You've protected your grade boundary for this specific question type, but what if the exact same topic was presented on your paper and the command word was suddenly evaluate? Well, everything we just covered goes completely out the window. Your mark band just changed entirely, and the framework you need to answer it is completely different. To find out exactly how the evaluate command word secretly shifts the entire grading rubric, you absolutely need to see the next explainer. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams at acetheexams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. The next analysis reveals that hidden cause and gives you the exact framework you need, so I will see you right over there.